A single dropped glove could launch a secret romance in the Victorian era. Beneath the surface of strict manners and constant chaperones, an entire hidden language of love was flourishing. Young couples developed ingenious ways to communicate their true feelings using ordinary objects and subtle gestures, all while appearing perfectly proper. By the end of this, you will be able to decipher the secret messages hidden in a bouquet of flowers or the twirl of a parasol. How did a gentleman use his walking stick to ask for a private meeting? What secret did a folded calling card corner hold? In a society that prized public decorum above all else, the desire for connection forced creativity. What everyday item would you use to send a secret message if you had to? A single, carefully selected bouquet could whisper secrets a suitor would never dare to speak aloud. This was the power of florography, the Victorian language of flowers, a complex and beautifully detailed code that transformed a simple gift into a heartfelt letter. Every single blossom, from the most common daisy to the most exotic orchid, held a specific and widely understood meaning. A suitor presenting red roses was declaring a passionate, romantic love, while a bouquet of lilies spoke of purity and restored innocence. Violets were a promise of faithfulness, a message whispered from the heart, but this language was not only for sweet sentiments. A yellow carnation, for example, was a stark symbol of disappointment or rejection, a floral slap in the face delivered with perfect politeness. The message went far deeper than just the type of flower chosen. The way the flowers were combined created entire sentences. Presenting a rose surrounded by ivy, for instance, would translate to a declaration of lasting and married love, as the ivy symbolized fidelity and marriage. Even the manner of presentation held crucial meaning. Handing a bouquet right side up meant the sender affirmed the message, while offering it upside down signaled the exact opposite, turning a declaration of love into a statement of its end. Victorian men and women studied small, pocket-sized flower dictionaries with the intensity of diplomats learning a foreign tongue, meticulously planning their floral communications. In literature, Ophelia's descent into madness in Shakespeare's Hamlet is punctuated by her distribution of flowers, each one a poignant, unspoken commentary on the characters around her. This intricate system allowed for a level of romantic precision we can hardly imagine today. Could you craft a perfect apology or a tentative confession using only the flowers from your own garden? Beyond the silent poetry of flowers, romance was literally at your fingertips. A lady never left her home without her fan, and this elegant accessory was far more than a tool for cooling herself. It was a sophisticated signaling device. The way she held and moved it could send a clear message across a crowded ballroom without her ever speaking a word. Opening the fan wide and slowly meant, "Wait for me." Drawing it swiftly across her cheeks signaled, "I love you." But if she twirled it firmly in her right hand, it was a devastatingly clear dismissal, "I love another." Every flutter and snap was a carefully chosen word in a silent conversation. Gloves, too, were central to this unspoken dance. A dropped glove was the classic, and often staged, opportunity for a gentleman to approach. He would gallantly retrieve it, and in that brief, sanctioned moment, their hands might touch, and a few hushed words could be exchanged. The gloves themselves communicated further intentions. Wearing them in pristine, bright white signaled availability and a pure heart, while darker colors or wearing them loosely could indicate disinterest or even mourning. A lady removing her gloves entirely in a gentleman's company was a bold gesture of trust and intimacy, a sign that she felt completely at ease in his presence. Then there was the humble handkerchief, a seemingly innocent square of linen that could orchestrate an entire romance. How it was held was critical. Clutching it in the right hand meant yes, while the left hand meant no. Dropping it accidentally on purpose was the most common ploy, forcing a gentleman to stop and return it, creating a perfect chance encounter, but the most intimate secret of the handkerchief was hidden in plain sight. Young women would often embroider the corners with tiny, coded messages using a complex language of stitches and patterns. A series of dots might form a date, or a specific floral emblem, like a hidden forget-me-not, could convey a personal promise. Only the intended recipient, who knew the code, would ever think to examine the corner of the handkerchief for its true message, a love letter stitched in thread and carried close to the heart all day long. While a fan was perfect for the ballroom, the park required a different set of signals. A stroll through the public gardens was a prime opportunity for a covert conversation, all conducted with a parasol or a walking stick. A lady's parasol was a masterpiece of silent communication. If she casually rested the closed parasol on her right shoulder as she walked, it was a clear invitation for her suitor to follow her at a discreet distance. But if she placed it on her left shoulder, the message was just as clear: "I am engaged, leave me alone." A gentle, slow twirl of the open parasol expressed approval, signaling, "You are pleasing me." However, a rapid, frantic twirl was a silent alarm, a warning that they were being watched by a chaperone or a gossiping acquaintance, and all communication must cease immediately. Gentlemen, in turn, had their own tool for this silent dance, the walking stick. This was far more than a fashion statement, it was a mobile telegraph. A man might casually use the tip of his cane to trace a heart or a set of initials in the soft earth of the path, a fleeting public declaration only his beloved would notice and understand. More commonly, he would use a series of coded taps, a specific pattern of taps against an iron fence or a cobblestone, perhaps 2 quick raps followed by a slow drag, could be a prearranged signal for where and when to meet later, completely inaudible to the chaperone walking beside her. These everyday accessories became the instruments of a secret symphony, allowing couples to coordinate their movements and express their deepest feelings while maintaining a facade of perfect, disinterested propriety. The public park, under the bright sun and in full view of society, became the most private of meeting places. But what happened when a couple finally managed a moment alone, away from prying eyes? The rules of conduct shifted once again into an even more subtle and intimate language of the body itself. Even the simple act of leaving a card at someone's doorstep was a finely tuned instrument of social navigation. The calling card was a Victorian passport into polite society, and its presentation followed an elaborate, unspoken code that everyone understood. A card was never just a card. Its corners held the entire purpose of the visit, folded down to convey a message before a single word was spoken. A folded top right corner meant the visitor had come to offer congratulations, perhaps on an engagement or a birth. A folded bottom left corner, however, was a somber signal of a condolence call, expressing sympathy for a loss. This silent system allowed households to immediately understand the nature of a visit and prepare accordingly, preserving decorum in moments of both joy and grief. For young ladies and their suitors, this ritual was a romantic chess game. A lady might strategically leave her card at a gentleman's house during her prescribed visiting hours, a public but polite declaration of her interest. When a gentleman came to call, the presentation of his card was everything. If the lady of the house received him and accepted his card face up, it was a sign of welcome and potential romantic interest. But if the card was returned to him or left face down on the silver tray in the entryway, the message was a clear and polite rejection. His suit was not welcome. The rules governing these visits were incredibly strict. There were specific days and hours for calling, often printed in the newspaper, and a visit was never meant to last more than 15 or 20 minutes. A chaperone was always present, usually seated just far enough away to allow for hushed, formal conversation, but close enough to monitor every glance. Yet within this rigid structure, small rebellions flourished. A young woman might intentionally be not at home to a suitor she disliked, saving both of them an awkward encounter. Or, for a favored gentleman, she might stretch the rules, allowing the visit to extend a few minutes longer than was strictly proper, a tiny but significant gesture of approval. These structured interactions, for all their formality, created the only sanctioned opportunities for a couple to get to know one another. Every folded corner, every carefully timed visit was a move in the delicate dance of courtship. But what happened when a relationship progressed beyond these first, formal calls? the rules of engagement shifted once more into the most intimate and high-stakes language of all. The elaborate dance of folded cards and tapping canes reveals a profound truth about the human heart. Beneath the starched collars and heavy silks of Victorian society, a powerful need for connection refused to be silenced. This entire secret language of romance, from the poetry of flowers to the frantic twirl of a parasol, was not a rejection of the era's strict moral codes, but a breathtakingly creative adaptation to them. Love was forced underground, and in response it blossomed into a complex and beautiful code. These intricate systems of fans, gloves, and bouquets prove one simple, timeless fact. Love will always find a way to communicate, even when it is forced to whisper. While we are free to text or call anyone we choose, there is something undeniably romantic about the sheer effort and intention our Victorian ancestors poured into their courtship. Every dropped handkerchief was a calculated risk, every specific flower a deeply considered declaration. It was a game of exquisite subtlety where the smallest gesture could carry the weight of 1,000 words. In our world of instant and often fleeting communication, we have perhaps lost the art of the secret signal, the thrill of a message meant for only one person to understand. So we leave you with this question to ponder. If you had to communicate your deepest feelings without a single spoken word, what secret romantic signal would you invent? Would you develop a code using coffee cups or a specific way of tying your shoelaces? Share your own creative ideas for a modern secret language in the comments below. And for more journeys into the hidden corners of history, be sure to subscribe.